goaltending was garbage. Absolute garbage. And if I was doing this right, that would be the beginning and the ending of this episode of Daily Shot of Penguins. As it is, something tells me I wouldn't get away with that. Good morning to you. Good Thursday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. And the Penguins are done. They're out. Defeated here last night in Uniondale, New York, by the Islanders by a 5-3 count. Out in the series by a 4-2 count. And really, they never had a chance. Nothing that they would have done would have mattered. Because Tristan Jarry was that bad. See, I can say things like that. Hockey players can't say things like that. Hockey coaches can't say things like that because it's completely counter to the culture. And I guess I get that. I respect that, except that, look, in this case, it really needs to be spoken. Because there's a lot about this franchise's future, short-term and long-term, that could be affected by this series. And if we aren't comfortable saying that the goaltending was absolute garbage, and if the Penguins, infinitely more importantly, on the inside, aren't comfortable acknowledging that, recognizing that, they might do some pretty stupid things this offseason. They just might. How anyone can watch this series and see the disparity in play, the general disparity between one team's set of 18 skaters and the other team's set of 18 skaters, and start talking about all kinds of different variables and this and that, and Barry Trotz, brilliant coach. Yeah, Barry Trotz that conceded with his magical system 83 shot attempts to the Penguins in Game 5. Yeah, he was a real wizard out there. The core is too old. The core played fine. At times, the core really rose above. That's kind of how a playoff series goes. The wingers didn't deliver. No, some of them didn't. They were too small. Yeah, they kind of were a little bit. But none of those factors is why the team lost. It just isn't. They lost, the Penguins did, because Jarry couldn't stop a puck. Because Jarry couldn't hold a lead for more than a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes tops. He buckled. He fell apart. It's unlike anything we've seen in Pittsburgh since when that happened with Marc-Andre Fleury a few years ago, maybe not coincidentally right here in this same building. This was awful. This was awful. It was about one player. It just was. Sullivan very predictably wanted nothing to do with the goaltender conversation. First time it came up, this was his answer.
I'm not going to discuss the discussions we have as a coaching staff and the decisions we make at any position.
Second time it came up, this was his answer.
Listen, you win games as a group, or you win games as a team, you lose games as a team. It's not any one position. It's not any one person's fault. Everybody's doing their best to try to be part of the solution. And, you know, there's a number of things that go on throughout the course of games. We could all be better. We all have to find ways to have success through this. We got to support one another through the process, and that's how we look at it.
Finally, the third time it was broached, he at least used some nouns and verbs.
Well, like I said, there's there's such a fine line between winning and losing, and for a lot of this series, we really liked our overall team game. We thought we were trying to play to our strengths. We were playing to our identity. We were trying to dictate the terms out there. We're playing against a really good opponent as well, and so there's a fine line between winning and losing. And it didn't go our way this series. We'll take a look at it and reflect on this and see what we can take out of it. It's a difficult question to answer when it's so raw, and we're 20 minutes removed. So I'm not sure I can give you an answer that will satisfy you. I don't have one for you right now, other than how disappointed I am, because I know how hard this group of players works.
He just wasn't going to go there. There was no chance that he was going to criticize his goaltender. And for that matter, he wasn't going to explain why he never pulled Jarry in favor of Maxime Lagacé. And I don't know that he needed to. Jarry was horrible. But by the time he gave up the fifth goal, which is really when it was extremely obvious that you would have pulled him, Islanders never scored again anyway. So I don't know that it was that big a deal. But even there, he couldn't address that. What were the coaches talking about? Coaches, I never talk about. Yes, he does. He talks all the time about what his coaches' decisions are and what their conversations are. All the time. Why wouldn't he in this case? Because it was the goaltender. Fine, whatever. What they say to us doesn't matter. What they say on the inside is what matters. They need to understand, the Penguins do, that this goaltender, who is not new, he's not some rookie, he's not some kid, he's been in the system for a lot of years. The organization has put a lot of time, effort, money, everything into him, going back to when he was a second-round pick from Edmonton of the WHL. And what he's done is he's occasionally rewarded them, but more often than not, frustrated them. With maddeningly inconsistent play, with bizarre decisions, times where he would just space out and do things that made no sense, and then after he would do them, he'd have no reaction to doing them. And not that I expected him to, fall on his sword for the gaffe in Game 5, but, maybe I kind of did. Maybe he needed to be the one to step up and say, hey, listen, this was on me. I just let down all these guys. I have no idea what I was thinking. I had a guy to my left. I had a guy to my right. I had 3 Islanders up the middle. I threw it up the middle. That was pretty dumb on my part. I'll try to be better in the next game. After this one, hey, all my teammates kept doing was getting me the lead. All they did was battle, and then by the third period, dominate. And all I kept doing was giving up goals. That's on me. Put it on me. I'll be better next year. You know what we got instead after this game last night? No sign of him. No sign of him. And it'll be the last time, by the way, that he'll be able to use the COVID protocol to be hiding from reporters. Any other situation, the losing goaltender in an elimination game is facing cameras and microphones. If you want to try to figure out what went wrong here, don't try too hard. Don't try too hard. There doesn't always have to be some dramatic, additional, alternate narrative attached to everything. The goaltending was garbage. Absolute garbage. And that's it. That's really it. When we come back, just one question. Welcome back. It's time for Just One Question, and that's always brought to you on this program by the good people at the Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank, where their mission is to help those in need all across Western Pennsylvania. They need your help to achieve that. Go to pittsburghfoodbank.org to find out how $1 is all it takes to provide 5 full meals for those in need. pittsburghfoodbank.org. The question comes from Nick, who asks, what changed from the regular season to the playoffs? The Penguins won 6 out of 8 against the Islanders, and now they dropped 4 out of 6. Clearly, we had the talent and the ability to win the series. Were there coaching or strategic changes that were made by New York that we were unable to answer? Was Sullivan out-coached again by Trotz? Or is it just as simple as Jarry being unable to perform consistently? Sorry for all the questions, just searching for a rationale and some consolation. Well, you're not going to have consolation, Nick. This core isn't getting younger. They're playing really well. They had, for the most part, if you can set aside Gino's early, really, really slow start to the season, all 3 of them contributed. But that won't last forever. And as Sid said himself here last night, it's frustrating to them to lose out on what they felt was a really good chance. Sid said, we felt this team was ready to make a run. And that's what makes this so disappointing. So there's no consolation, Nick. But as I said in the opening segment, there's also no alternate thing here. There just isn't. Yes, other events occurred in the series. Sid was really tough on himself over being on the ice for 3 of New York's goals, 2 of which he lost his man and was responsible for the Islanders having the scoring chance that resulted. And that's fine. That's fair. He can do that. They all can do that. Everybody can look in the mirror and say, I could have done something a little bit different. But when you look at the cumulative effect, when you look at the cumulative impact, what you have in front of you is that the goaltending was garbage because the Penguins dominated every single facet of everything else in the series. Sullivan went so far as to say that he felt that the Penguins were the better team in 5 of the 6 games, and he's right. There was one game where they didn't have it. They just flat out didn't have it, and that was Game 4 up here. I wrote it at the time. They talked about it openly. Everybody has an off day, off game. That was the afternoon game, whatever. But they were the better team, the visibly, demonstrably, statistically supported better team in 5 of the 6 games. What was the difference? Jarry lost 3 of those games. You don't have to win every playoff game as a goaltender, but you're expected to win your share. Where this really crosses over into something else is when the goaltender is outright losing those games. By one advanced metric, Jarry's playoff performance, these 6 total games, was the worst playoff round by any goaltender in the National Hockey League since 2014. I mean, what do you do with that? How do you take that statistic, that bit of information, and say, yeah, but what else went wrong? Let's really get to the nitty-gritty of this. This is it. This is it. Look, I'm a hockey lifer, and I really cringe. It's my first reaction when somebody points to goaltending first. Not because of the culture thing or whatever, but usually it's incorrect. Usually it's lazy. Goaltender's supposed to stop everything. No, they're not, actually. But that's all this series was about, on both ends. The Islanders got better goaltending than anyone could have expected from Ilya Sorokin, a rookie. And the Penguins got garbage, absolute garbage from Jari. I appreciate the question, Nick. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins all season long. I can promise you it's not going anywhere. We will continue to talk Penguins hockey every weekday, all year long. That's just kind of how I roll. I don't believe in seasons and off seasons and that sort of thing. I hope you'll stick with me, and I appreciate those of you who have found this podcast, and even more to those who've passed the word along to others. Until tomorrow.
At Point Park University in the heart of downtown Pittsburgh, they understand there's no substitute for real-world experience and career-building connections. Their innovative curriculum engages students with distinctive experiential learning opportunities. Point Park's pioneering co-op program empowers qualified students to work in full-time, paid positions with their corporate partners while earning college credits. Visit pointpark.edu/works to learn more. Career ready. That's the point. Point Park University.
Your front door, your car, your gym locker, your gun. Safety is a habit. Learn more about how to keep guns safe and secure. Visit projectchildsafe.org.